Welcome to the Financial Leaders Network. I'm your host, Alec Borland. In this special episode, I am joined by Taylor Evans, founder and president of Rust Belt Recruiting, a specialized recruiting firm focused specifically on the manufacturing industry. And in our episode, we discuss all things manufacturing within the greater Cleveland area and what manufacturers in the greater Cleveland area can do specifically to make sure they have a successful 2025. We talk about employer branding, the technologies, and everything that leaders within manufacturing companies need to consider to make 2025 their best year. So with that, give us some background about yourself. How did you end up in this, really very specific niche of recruiting?
Yeah. So when I was starting my business in 2017, I realized that there was a huge need for skilled workers out there. If you've ever picked up cranes or really any trade publication or even just a newspaper or had a conversation, what have you, the need for it, skilled workers in manufacturing is a known issue, right? The lack of skilled workforce is a huge problem. And when I was starting out a business, just like you've done in the past, you're like, all right, how am I going to make enough money to survive to start?
Right.
And so, I realized that obviously there was a huge need. I had worked for a manufacturer before. And so I saw it firsthand. And I said, I'm going to focus on filling jobs in skilled trades. And if I can become a go to resource for skilled tradespeople in the region, I'm not going to go out of business. And that proved to be true. So we started out by focusing a lot on skilled tradespeople and have grown from there. But just continued to lean into the manufacturing community and the work there, just focusing my business on being really good for a specific industry, as opposed to being generalists. And so
Yeah.
manufacturing is where we have poured a lot of our time.
In manufacturing in Cleveland, there's no shortage of, right?
That's the understatement of the year.
Right. That's what we do here in good old Cleveland. Now, did you start this right when you graduated from OU, or was there a job in between?
No, I graduated from OU. I was a sport management major. I specifically wanted to be an agent, a sports agent. And so um, I always joke and say now I'm a agent to industrial athletes. And but I had a couple different stops along the way, professional sports and two sports commissions, Cleveland and Austin, Texas. And and then when I came back from Austin, I found an opportunity in manufacturing. And then, like so many do, stumbled my way into recruiting and then put the two together and started my own agency and uh, s- started to focus on manufacturing recruiting.
Yeah. And so your company, Rust Belt Recruiting, give the listeners a sample, like what are the core positions that you guys focus on? Because again, you're so hyper specific, it's good to kind of call those out here.
Yeah. So it's been a bit of an evolution. So I alluded earlier that the whole focus was skilled trades very early on, which is true. And as time has gone on, I would say we've really gotten good at focusing on some of those professional and management roles. So whether it's a production supervisor, a plant manager, a director of operations, other leaders, outside sales, things like that, we've gotten really good at that. And yet, because of our bones and who we were at our foundation, we continue to support the skilled trades as well. So about 50% of the jobs we work on are in manufacturing, are professional roles, and the other 50% are skilled trades, and our team kind of segments accordingly.
Excellent, excellent. And you guys are primarily in the middle market, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And it varies as as it does, and it also depends what you would call the middle market. The federal
Yeah.
government says a small business is 500 heads and under. I can tell you, I've never walked into a 500 person company and thought this is a nice small business.
Right.
So it just depends what you think there. But yeah, very much middle market and some lower as well. Some small business as well.
How many from an employee standpoint, I guess, how small are some of those? Like, what would be the smallest that you've seen?
The smallest company that we ever filled a job for, I guess there would technically be 2 employees. Uh,
Okay.
so that's really small.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I don't think we can go much smaller. We've
No.
never hired that second employee for a company, so third has to count. But that third actually that hire was to replace the second employee. They were a guy was approaching retirement and they wanted our help. So yeah, that's pretty
Mm.
small business.
That checks out. Yeah, for
Yeah.
us on the accounting and finance consulting side, it's similar. I think I feel like I've given this pitch a million times in terms of like we're in the middle market, but we define it as, and what I've
Right.
normally seen is for us, it's really anywhere from 10 million to 2 billion is probably our biggest client. That's where we like to play. And so it's just funny when you see the middle market defined so many different ways. When we look at Cleveland manufacturers and kind of where we're at right now, early stages of 2025, are there any recurring challenges that you see your clients kind of facing or that they're anticipating this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, we continue to see supply chains, being a difficult thing to face. There's a big question mark around the new administration coming in next week, the topic of tariffs. So I think there's a lot of optimism within manufacturing, but I think there's also still a lot of uncertainty of what does this all mean, So we've seen the Trump playbook before in terms of what it is to be an administration. So I think a lot of people are just wondering, okay, it can certainly be a wild ride with President Trump. We've seen a successful economy, at least for 3 of his 4 years as president, and the fourth was chaos because of COVID. But what does this all mean? And I think that's the biggest question people are asking right now: is what does all of this mean in terms of the next 12 to 24 months. So I think for yet another year, it's my personal opinion that it will be a year of growth, but like January 20th or January 21st, like we're not all about to just start printing fat checks. There's a mellowing and a settling that has to happen. So personally for my business and obviously my business is tied to those of manufacturers. Again, I'm counting on a year of growth and positive momentum, but 2026 is what I'm really excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it's Q1 here might, and this is my opinion, is very similar. It's Q1 might be a little flat while we kind of
Mhm.
get situated and back into it, but then I think the rest of the year we see growth again. Now, is it going to
Yeah.
be, like 22% growth like it was in 2024? Probably not. But as long as we're growing, that's what's important. It's funny. I just had lunch with a controller of a pretty decent sized company. They do like 300 million, and same thing when it comes to supply chain issues. That seems to be a recurring topic of financial leaders in manufacturing companies because like that's one of their core pieces, right? How you're getting your raw materials, and I feel like it's been going on for what, like 3 years now,
Mhm.
the supply chain issues, so, that's something that hopefully we will get figured out here soon. When it comes to, when you're looking at the roles inside of these organizations that you guys focus on, are there any recurring, positions that a lot of these companies are in dire need of?
Yeah. Again, the production floor remains a challenge. It's really hard for people to find good skilled workers. There's just there's no that's not a breakthrough insight for anyone, but roles like maintenance, everyone's got a maintenance tech opening. Roles like tool and die, which are really hard to overcome because it's a dying breed. Same with manual machining. Manual machining is one of the true unicorns at this point, and you're hard pressed to find anyone under 40 who can do it, because the training has shifted more towards CNC, which isn't like necessarily that much more robust, but nonetheless, it's a dying breed. And so, yeah, all of those roles are really hard to fill, but I would definitely say what felt like the theme of 2024 was the difficulty to fill manual machining roles. That is what we encountered as are hard to fill.
Got it. So when you are, really being a consultant for your clients in the talent acquisition world, what can they do to just kind of alleviate or try to alleviate that talent crisis in those core roles? Is there anything they could do from company standpoint, or like, obviously every company wants to go out and try to fill these roles on their own. From
Mhm.
our perspective as third party talent partners, there are things that they could do to help us get a higher quality talent in there. It's kind of a two-part question, but what should these companies be doing to increase their own internal recruitment flow? And then what can they kind of do to help you as you look to find those highly specialized people?
Yeah. Well, to your first part, I think I cheer for companies all the time if they're able to fill a role without us. When they're like, "Hey,
Yeah.
we've got a few candidates in the pipeline." Look, at the end of the day, like, we both are business-minded people, and we know the cost of our services. And so if a company can do it without us, why would I be salty about that? I would do the same thing if it was my business. Obviously, I want to do business as much as possible. That's a key to doing business. However,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, if a company can fill their seats by themselves, all the power to them. And it probably means they're doing a couple things right. We're big advocates for the importance of a good referral program. That's one of them. I was actually once talking to an accounting company, and they were telling me, because their headquarters was in New York, that their referral program paid, if you made a good referral, $15,000, which is
Nice.
incredible. Now
Yeah.
that's like a number where if you're sitting at your desk and one of your friends hits you up and they're like, "Hey, I'm looking for a new job," you're like, "I'd be glad to pass you along."
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, put
Yeah.
my name on your resume or on your application, whatever. And I'm not saying that's a number that you have to, but on the flip side, that's a number they'd be paying to an agency probably. So, at the end of the day, incent a strong referral program. Make it
Yeah.
make sense to say, "Hey, who in here knows someone that could fill this role?" And hey, here's a pretty big carrot for those referrals. Another
Yeah.
creative one that I once heard was, if you're an employer and you want a strong referral program, and maybe you're paying like $2,500 for a referral, something's good, send a
Yeah.
postcard or a letter to the house. Make sure the spouse opens the envelope. So the
Mhm.
spouse is like, "Hey, honey, you've got this thing at work for, referring people. Why
Yeah.
not Ted, Jane, or Susie on our street, who are looking for a job and, seem to have some of the skills?" So, there's
Yeah.
ways to get creative, right? And it's not just all about a referral program. It's about really running a good, healthy workplace that people want to refer
Mhm.
people to, right? Like,
Yeah.
run a place that people want to work to.
Yeah.
It's just attraction. And I do think the dollars and cents have to be pretty heads up. But sometimes, I have seen over time, we've been able to hire some highly talented people for a deal, or whomever they may be, because they, just wanted like more flexibility in their life, or they wanted a different or better work culture. So at the end of the day, if your company culture is healthy, you're
Yeah.
gonna attract people. And again, you got to be able to pay a market rate, but you don't have to go crazy buying up the market if you have a workplace that's worth working at.
Yeah. I love that referral program idea. The concept of, you're alluding to the CPA firm doing the referral program. If you don't have that as a CPA firm, you're missing out on one of the easiest ways to get good people into your organization. But you bring up a great point, which is people don't want to refer their friends into a shit show.
Yeah.
Right. So like if it's not good, start there. Step one, get an
Yeah.
honest assessment of, is this a place where you would want somebody to come and work and spend the vast majority of their time? Step two, properly incentivize the people that are there to then invite their similar friends and close network to be a part of that growing ecosystem. That's awesome. So along those lines, do you feel like, you know, and this kind of ties into that, but just having that strong employer brand, like when I think of somebody on the shop floor in a plant, my question is, do they care as much about employer brand? What are their priorities when they're looking at somewhere to go for their career?
Yeah. I think employer brand is huge. So any community is small once you really boil it down. So, manual machinists know each other, right? Because they've all passed each other in different facilities, and you can always, oh, I've got a guy over there. I'll find out for you. Oh, you're interviewing there? Yeah, let me check in on that, right? Your employer brand and that's more reputation is huge. When I think about employer brand, right? I think about the company culture you're able to spotlight. So at the end of the day, your digital footprint matters a lot. The reviews you get online matter a lot. So making sure, like, if I got a call today from Borland Manufacturing and they wanted to hire me as a plant manager, if I was qualified for that, first thing I'm doing after I hang up the phone is checking out their website if I don't know anything about them, right? I'm reading reviews, I'm seeing what people are saying about them. So that digital footprint matters a lot. And again, skilled workers and just employees in general are going to ask around on about your workplace. So, how are you spotlighting your workplace? How are you showing the best traits about your workplace that you can? I've got to shout out a dear, 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 dear friend of mine, Chris Carmen. He owns a company called Hiring Optics. This is very much what they do. They're based here in Cleveland, and they spotlight your workplace from a video standpoint. So they're able to show what it's like to work there, or a video job description, different ways to show your company culture and what it is that you're building. So it's, whether your internal TA team or recruiter or HR or whomever is using that to send to a candidate to say, hey, wanted you to see a snapshot of what it's like here and what we're all about, which is obviously a highlight reel. You can send that. It can be posted on your website. You could have your third party recruiter use it. Like, hey, I think you seem like a great candidate. I want to send you this video about my client, and let me know, if it resonates with you. So
Yeah.
however you're able to bring to life the good in your facility is huge because, again, manufacturing has a massive perception problem. Now, when we're engaged to find people, we're generally being engaged to find skilled workers or, people who have industry experience. So selling them on a career in manufacturing isn't always the same. The people we work with have already bought into a career in that path, but nonetheless, it's important to be able to show a good, positive, healthy workplace where these candidates are going to be going to work
Yeah.
on a daily basis.
So that is awesome. I've never heard of a company like that. You said it's Hiring Optics?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, when you think about like when it comes to getting top talent for any position, I feel like most of those people are going to be very forward thinking by nature. So they want to start envisioning what it is like for them to go to work on a day-to-day basis. What better way than to kind of, even if it's that highlight reel, we know it's a highlight reel, you can kind of see and start
Yeah.
position it and start envisioning yourself in that day to day. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and
That's like that.
they can go to the reviews section of Google or Indeed or whatever tool they're using to see the lowlights if they are out there, right?
Yes.
The internet has obviously democratized, information and feedback on companies and all of
Yeah.
that. But at the end of the day, you can go and look up a company and do a little digging, and most of that information is readily available. So it's very important to, maintain those messages and your digital footprint. Again, it's huge for a first impression. even just the quality of your website. Not because the person might care about, what the contents of the website are, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, a good website might show, hey, they're investing in this part of the company, which means they probably invest in other areas.
Right.
Whereas, if you have a website from when Al Gore invented the internet, uh, you know, you might say, like, are they investing? Are they pouring money into this place? Is
Yeah.
this a company that's growing and there's growth potential, or is this just a job where I can do
Right.
just as much as I was engaged for and nothing more, which might work for someone. Someone might say,
Sure.
"Yeah, I'm not here for any bells and whistles. I'm just want to do my work and go home." But
Yep.
at the end of the day, a lot of people want to work in a workplace that they feel like has potential, it's growing, it's going to provide stability and opportunity and all the other things.
Yeah. Very much so. And I think, you hit it on a great point here, Taylor, is that I see, especially in Cleveland, and I'm sure it's probably similar across the country, but smaller, older manufacturing organizations, they don't give a shit about their digital footprint. They might not even like know what we're referring to. The websites are
Right.
outdated. They
Yeah.
don't claim their LinkedIn page. Like you can have whatever opinion about LinkedIn that you want, but when a candidate is going to potentially look at joining your organization, they're going to your company website, they're going to your LinkedIn page, and LinkedIn now makes it so simple to put a really good image out there of what it's actually like working there.
Mhm.
You have so many different opportunities to make it a very informative stopping point for when candidates are doing their research. So, like, it's a great point that some candidates are fine just being a cog in the wheel, just going to work wherever. But I think a lot of them now, especially the younger generation, they want somewhere that they're going to be able to see the impact that they're making on society and that they're doing something that is making it better.
I think that's a huge deal. And to build on that,
Yeah.
when you're looking at a workplace, right? You want to be able to appreciate and understand what what the bigger picture of your work is. What right? So the manufacturer I worked for, my stop in manufacturing was a snow and ice equipment company, and it's easy to walk into a team meeting like we did once, and the president and CEO was like, "What do we do here?" And it's like, "Well, we make plows, right?"
Mhm.
Well, we actually create a tool that allows people to go to and from school, to and from work, to and from wherever more safely year round and be able
Yeah.
to come home at the end of the day and not be injured or in an accident or something like that. So again, that's kind of like the Simon Sinek start with why type thing. But the point here is being able to give people something more to connect to. If at
Yeah.
the end of the day, your job is to be a packer and you're just packing boxes all day, it might if that's how you define yourself, like I just pack boxes, that's cool. But if I'm boxing up a or creating up a big shipment of plows that are going to go to the Northeast and allow people to be safe, every day of the week through the winter months, like
Yeah.
I might feel a sense of pride. I might actually be like,
Yeah.
this right here is going to help a ton of people out there. Does that like flow through your veins 40 hours a week? Probably not, but it's a good nugget to plant on the brain, especially early on when you're bringing on a new employee, and it's more than just you know, you're a you're a shipping and receiving clerk, right? No, you get to make sure our final product gets out the door and out into the world where it's meant to be. So
Yeah.
again, like that's employer brand too. Like, giving people that sense of purpose and why they're doing their work and why it matters um to the overall.
100%. That is one of my favorite topics to talk about whenever I'm working with CFOs or CEOs, depending on the size of the company and who we're trying to get into the company, is like we're not just looking for a CFO. We're not just looking for director of FP&A, right? We're looking for somebody who's going to help the company go from where they are right now at X and to where they want to go at Y, right? Like end state. It's the concept of selling the dream, not the plane ticket, right? So it's we want to be, the leader in XYZ category. It's not just I want to come in and do these reports and look at these like tactical things. Let's start helping people understand how critical this role is and how it's going to help the company accomplish its goal, which helps society move in a better direction.
For
And I
sure.
in manufacturing, in the CPA world space, I'd say that just because it's an easy corollary there. It's just something that isn't necessarily in the DNA when we're going to bring in new candidates and new employees. So it's something that I do a lot of like indirect coaching on, hey, when we're going through the interview process, when we're having these potential candidates, consultants talk to you about coming in and doing this work, let's like get them a little more excited other than the fact that they're going to be able to do this for you. Like let's show them the tangible impact they're going to make here and how that helps overall.
It's huge. Yeah, it really goes a long way with morale and sustaining interest in the role.
Yeah, 100%. When you're looking at the manufacturing space, are there any technologies like that are being looked at by your clients that they're excited about and that they might be implementing in 25 and 26?
Yeah, I think in general, it continues to be a lot of capex investments into new equipment, new machinery, but that's going to be forever and a day. I mean, if it, companies are always going to be top grading their equipment and getting the best and newest tools. I think data and intelligence are providing a number of different like insights into the equipment that you're buying. More and more machinery is being equipped with tools and resources to kind of provide metadata to OEMs and big corporations who are asking for it. So they're pushing a lot down to suppliers, especially those small businesses, which is a lift for these smaller businesses to take on, start aggregating data on the work that they do. But this is what these companies need from a quality and assurance standpoint that whatever product that they've been delivered, it's traceable back to, where it went or where it came from
Mm,
and how it got made. So I'm seeing that definitely a little bit more as well, and I think that will continue to grow as just data and information builds in terms of importance uh, in business decisions.
yeah. Have you seen any AI pieces used yet? I'm not sure how much it would translate to some of those roles, but I'm sure a lot of them, there's probably implications and use cases where it would help, no?
Yeah, I haven't encountered it a ton yet, but you hear manufacturers talking, every industry, every corner of the world is like, how is artificial intelligence going to impact us? So I think last year was a year of like, what's this all about? It
Right.
became so mainstream last year for the first time. Although I've always believed Siri is the OG AI.
Sure.
So it's been around a little while, but there's been a huge boom in it. And I know, and I think most businesses know it's coming for their business in some way, somehow.
Yeah. It's really I think it comes down to a lot of them is it's not about replacing people, it's about supercharging people. It's
Right.
about automating, making simpler the areas that are, repetitive and low value add. So why not, automate those? Don't be afraid of AI. Use it so that you can spend more of your time on the higher value item things.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I think AI will continue to build in relevance. I think that's undeniable. As with most things, it will walk and then it will run. Hopefully, it won't run us, but
Yeah.
that's a whole
Just
different discussion.
make sure you always say thank you. I know whenever I use my prompts, whenever I'm using them, I'm like, thank you. This is so good. Very
Yeah.
polite with it so that when it takes over, I'm on the good list.
Yeah,
That's
for
all we
sure.
can do.
Yeah.
Now, you guys, are you just in Cleveland or do you help clients in other areas?
Yeah. So, when it comes to those skilled roles that we talked about, we're generally helping companies in the northern half of Ohio where we've got a deeper bench of, candidates and resources and relationships, and out to even out to Detroit and Pittsburgh a little bit. But when it comes to taking on professional searches, we'll go a little bit more national. Given the tools and resources we have available to us, we'll take on some of those salaried searches, and we do those across the country.
Okay. Excellent. How do you feel, from a competition for talent standpoint? Is it with how many manufacturers we have here in Cleveland, would you say it's more competitive for that skilled labor, or is it kind of is there a ton of demand for it nationwide?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all relative, but obviously manufacturing is rich here and the region is dependent on it. So the competition for top talent is going to be heightened. But I think at the end of the day, Cleveland and Northeast Ohio, Ohio is the third largest manufacturing state in the country, and Cleveland is the largest, or Cuyahoga County and Northeast Ohio are the biggest region in Ohio for it. So we're pretty relevant, very relevant in the national manufacturing conversation for our talent, or, for our work that's done here. And so we have the talent we need, but of course, always need more. And
Mm.
yeah, because there's so much manufacturing here, it's going to be competitive. But again, I would believe it to be relative to all areas of the country.
Yeah. With that demand, do you think there's anything companies can do to attract more talent here?
One of in terms of attracting people here, I think we need to be able to just continue to create an environment as a region that people want to be a part of. I think Cleveland is in Northeast Ohio is uniquely situated on a Great Lake. We have infrastructure in place. We have a lot of access to the major cities in either direction and all around us. So Cleveland, from a geographic standpoint, we're very competitive. On a company by company basis, I think companies just have to think about themselves as an employer, and it goes back to our employer branding conversation earlier. But moreover, I was thinking about this in advance. Like, if you want to improve kind of your ability to attract and bring talent in and through your doors, like, put yourself through that interview process. Ask yourself
Mhm.
how relevant it is. How are you showing your company off in a positive light and making
Yeah.
the experience a good one for all candidates, not just the ones you hire, but all of them? And if you take yourself through that and you feel good about it, you know, ask someone else still to, so that you're not, biased and have blinders on. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I think companies need to be introspective in their talent acquisition processes as well.
Yeah. Just asking yourself that question, is this a
Yeah.
pain in the butt?
Yeah. Would
Like
I
it
enjoy going through this process? Would I want to
Yeah.
go through this process?
Yeah.
That's what I'd say.
That's a great insight. Outside of, thinking about employer brand, thinking about, your interview process, what it would be like going through, are there any key themes that you see with companies that are winning the talent war in the Cleveland manufacturing space?
I think at the end of the day, you can walk into a company and read good people from a mile away. Good companies have good people, and good people attract more good people. So if you're a good person wanting to work for a good company, or if you're a good company, you're going to find good people to work for you, because like will attract like. And if the leadership of a company is filled with not so good people, you're going to attract not so good people. So I
Yeah.
really think at the end of the day, like, being a good person and making a workplace that all parties involved want to work at,
Yeah.
is a good thing.
Here's kind of a fun random question that popped into my head. Is there anything when you're going through the discovery process, deciding if you want to take on a client or not, are there any red flags that pop up that will kind of indicate to you, hey, this isn't really the best of situations. I'm not really trying to put anybody into this culture.
Yeah, I mean, there's a half dozen or more, right? It can be the attitude of the individual that we're talking to about people, the way they talk about, oh, no one wants to work anymore. Everyone's lazy. They're the worst. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, you're showing me some tea leaves, right? How long has this role been open? Oh, it's been open for 2 years. And, we've interviewed 27 different people so far, and they're all terrible. Yeah. Okay, right. First of all, if you have a role open for 2 years, do you really need someone in the role, or is it, uh, you know, that's a fair question. We also often go out to a client facility to see their operation. Is this a place that, like, people seem happy, smiling? When leadership walks by them on the floor, do they, like, say, "Hey, John, hey, Jane, hey, Susie," or is it like, everyone's just kind of like looking away and not happy and miserable? There's so many factors, right? You can read a good client from a bad, and unfortunately, once you've been at it for long enough and built up a client base, you don't always have to take on uh, the flyers or the ones that are not so good. So
Yeah. I mean, that's the perks of being in it for a while is it's the perks of the industry in general, and I think that's what everyone in the recruiting world should strive for is you only want to partner with the companies that are gonna treat people well, because when you place them, you want them to stay there. You want them to stay there for the longest amount of time possible. Like, you
yeah,
want them to get promoted a couple of times, you want them to enjoy going to work every day and not get the Sunday scaries and, the Monday blues or insert whatever stereotypical "I don't wanna be here" slogan there is.
right. Yeah, no, at the end of the day, you want all when we work with a company, it's not just their reputation and that we're representing, it's
Yeah.
ours as well. So when they treat candidates poorly, or if they do, it's
Right.
a reflection on our company as well, even if we were just the broker to the
Yeah.
opportunity. And at the end of the day, we've got to protect our company reputation as well.
Yes, 100%. I I'm happy you brought this up. This is something I was thinking about over the weekend, and I can't remember. I was like watching something. I'm on the treadmill, just still trying to burn off the holiday fat, and it was just a thought that popped in my head. It was if I'm more concerned about the fact that like this interview process is running poorly and we're giving candidates a bad perception. If I'm more concerned about that as the third party recruiter than you are as the company, what is that saying about your brand? And it that kind of full circle about what we were talking about earlier with the interview process. You should really think about like, is does this suck? What can we do to make this better? Is it just a simple email keeping people up to date? But if we're more concerned about that perception, it's kinda telling us something is a little off here.
For sure. For sure.
So, in terms of, wrapping up here, you are roughly 8 years Rust Belt Recruiting's been around now?
Yeah. Not quite eight. We seven and change, you
Yeah.
know, 7
Cool.
years, 3 months, 2 months and 9 days, but who's counting? Right.
6 hours? Who's counting?
Yeah. Yeah. If I started that first day. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, 7 years and change.
So, we'll round up for question's sake. What does the next 8 years hold for Rust Belt? What's your vision? What are you most excited about?
Yeah. Well, the most important thing is just continuing to invest in hiring top quality team members for my business. And if we do that, the rest will be history. We'll continue to be champions of the manufacturing industry. That is a huge industry, and we haven't even scratched the surface of what it is, and just expanding our footprint throughout the region. We continue to want to build here and grow here, and be advocates for regional manufacturers. So continue to do what we're doing, and do more of it and do it better and wider, and hopefully add some depth to our services as well, which more of that will be revealed over time.
Excellent. Now, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
I'm always on LinkedIn. You can always catch me by email, Taylor at rustbeltrecruiting.com. or feel free to reach out via phone 440-462-0742. Otherwise, I'm probably in some coffee shop near you. Like you and I have met up, I'm always flying around and having cups of coffee, and happy to be networked with as many people as possible.
Awesome, brother. Appreciate you carving out the time here. This was a lot of fun. Taylor Evans, everyone, Rust Belt Recruiting. Go ahead and pause this now.